And I've never had anything that's been any worth to God in my 50 years that wasn't born in agony. Never. Never. It's all been flesh otherwise. Flesh. And folks, I've been around the world again and listening to the cry of pastors, dead and empty, some treating their wives like animals. And here I haven't prayed in months, I haven't prayed in 6 months. And I know that sermons won't do it. I know that a new revelation won't do it. Covenant won't do it. I know now. Oh my God, do I know it. Until I'm in agony. Until I have been anguished over it. I'm preaching sermons. Oh God, I'm preaching sermons. Then I said, no, it's too late. I don't have that much time. And all our projects, all our ministries, everything we do, where are the Sunday school teachers that weep over kids they know are not hearing and they're going to hell? Oh, everywhere I go, somebody's got a project. Somebody's got a plan or a dream. That's all it is. It's an idea. They didn't come to me from a broken heart. They didn't come to me after hours of fasting and praying and mourning. Not a broken heart. It's an idea. I'm sick of it. You see, a true prayer life begins at the place of anguish, a place where lifetime decisions are made. You see, if you set your heart to pray, God's going to come and start sharing His heart with you. He's going to open up His heart. And I'll tell you, there's pain in His heart. But He sees, and so few to hear. He's going to show you the condition of His church. He's going to show you the condition of your own heart. And He's going to ask you a question. What is it to you? What is it? And that anguished servant has to make a decision. And everyone hearing me now, you're going to have to make this decision. I have to make it. You either get up from your anguished place, you walk out of the baptism waters of anguish. You say, I can't handle this. I can barely make it as it is. I don't want it. God, I have enough. I just want to be an ordinary Christian. I don't want to carry this kind of a burden. I don't want to have to weep over my family anymore. I'm just going to take it by faith. See, you have to make a decision. You're going to come and He says, now, if you're going to bear my burden, if you're going to be an instrument of restoration, if you are expecting somebody else to be an instrument to win your family or to do this work, you're mistaken. I've burdened your heart. I've given you my heart, and I've opened up my anguish to you, and I'm letting you feel it and share it so that it will bring you to your knees. Because it is there that I'll speak to you the word of direction. And that's what happened to Nehemiah. He came eventually out of the waters of anguish with a clear word that nobody could reject. He brought the city and nation to its knees. You find that in Nehemiah, the 8th chapter. You see, you either walk away and go back to your passivity and say, I'm just going to be an ordinary Christian, and there's no such thing. Or your heart begins to cry out, oh God, your name is being blasphemed. The Holy Spirit's being mocked. The enemy is out trying to destroy the testimony of the Lord's faithfulness, and something has to be done. You can't go unchallenged. Let's go back to these words. When I heard Jerusalem was broken down, you see, if he believed this theory that the need represents the call, You know what he's done? He said, gentlemen, if you'll just wait, I'll pack my bags. Just give me a day or two. This is the kind of challenge that's my meat. I love it. Let's roll. Let's do it. No anguish, no fasting, no prayer, no brokenness. Let's just do it. Nothing would have been done. The walls would have never been rebuilt. Anything you try to do without this baptism of anguish, it's going to falter and fall. It's not going to work. Here's what a sister wrote to me this past week. She said, Brother Dave, I'm so hungry for the Lord. I'm so tired of how-to meetings. It's all spiritual fluff. I was told of a woman's conference that was going to be a great spiritual experience, so I went with a group of sisters. There were 15,000 women. I was horrified the first night when they opened the conference with a comedy sketch. It went from bad to worse. We were hoodwinked by the leaders. There was not a single prayer, not one mention of prayer. It was a farce. And I'm as empty as I've ever been. Prophet Amos cried out to such, woe to them that are ease in Zion, eating, chanting their music, but they're not grieved for the affliction of Joseph. And in the original Hebrew root word, they are not agonizing in prayer over the ruin in Joseph or Israel. They're not agonizing. They're not in anguish about the conditions. Comedy, yes. Happy singing, yes. Eating, fellowship, good time, yes. Weeping, anguish, praying, fasting, no, no, no. Do not have it. Folks, let me tell you something. Out of this baptism of anguish comes a marvelous thing that happens to those willing to submit to it. A marvelous thing. It's the instant, prompt knowing of God's voice. Instant. Now see, if you don't have a history of prayer, if you don't have this willingness to share God's heart, you get it by asking Him for it. He said, I'll give. I'm more willing to give you are to receive. This is something you ask. Oh God, I want to step out now and I want to know your heart. And when you begin to seek His face, you allow Him to melt and break you. You come into this communion with the Lord. Out of that experience, you see, God hasn't called us to live in anguish. This is the birth, this is the womb of something God is stirring, God wanting to accomplish in bringing out of ruin, restoration in your family, whatever it may be. He'll bring you down into this baptism. Now, just like the baptism waters, you come up, you come out. But you'll come out with this instant knowing of God's voice. Because you see, Nehemiah, he'd been fasting, he'd been praying, he'd been mourning and left a mark on his countenance, and the king noticed that he was a cupbearer. And one day he brings the wine to the king, and the king says, why are you so down? Why your countenance? Nehemiah didn't have time to go and bosom his heart to the Lord. He didn't have time now to go and say, give me 3 days to fast and pray. No, he had to have an instant word. Why your sad countenance? Nehemiah said, I was very sore afraid. So I prayed to the God of heaven, and I said to the king. In other words, instant prayer, instant direction. Knowing God's voice.